Now, I'm going to juxtapose that. Like, again, bow down and worship me with follow me. And I want to talk a little bit about that, sort of give a little background first. So in speaking of it, I want to talk about how this can look in a couple of different ways. I think so much, right, when we look at this idea, right, the darkness in our lives, whatever you want to call it, our ego, when our egos completely run amok, it's so oriented towards power. Do I have it? Do I not have it? If I don't have it, I can assume the victim role. If I do have it, I can assume a sort of an authoritarian role out there in the world. And the conflict is pretty straightforward. We have a conflict between the conflicts of power and the bonds of love. I mean, I think so much of life is like working at balancing these two out. And I think the challenge here with conflicts of power, is this temptation, right? To like look at the darkness saying, look, I have all this to give you. And it's offering to give us the kingdoms of the world. Not the kingdom of God, the kingdoms of the world. And it also has, this is real important, it also has sort of this energy of a demand. Please listen carefully to this. The energy of a demand is very different from the openness of an invitation. The energy of a demand is very different from the openness of an invitation. Follow me. And the reality is, I think, if we look at this from the way the Bible was written, we have to put the parentheses around the three temptations and the other one around follow me. Like, what if we look at it that way? What if we see these two stories as connected? That follow me, it's like it's this subtle difference between worship me. It's not a command to worship me. It's not a command to bow down. It's actually a command to stand up. It's actually a command to stand up. Sit with that. So what does that mean, as we follow Jesus, watching his feet kind of leading a path for us? I think it gets back to, again, that bonds of love. The bonds and the connectedness of love that comes when we learn to follow. And again, there's a standing up there. There's a standing up. There's a movement. Folks, this is so good. There's a journey. There's a journey. And we're never on it alone. I think we need to look at that. All of us. Is your view of God an empowering view of the world? Is it an empowering view of God? Is it an empowering view of heaven? Is it an empowering view of church? Part 2, responsibility. What we can develop then, folks, is this theology of responsibility. I was laughing. I love working with couples. I mean, so many precious couples that are part of NewChurchLive. And we talk a lot about like when you're out of the boat and you're arguing and stuff and you're so wanting your partner to see the world the way you do, so you're getting louder and angrier to try to force them to do that. That's that whole temptation, like bow down and worship me. And as I remind couples, like for all of us, me included, like how many arguments have you solved from that place? How many times in the midst of that, as your beloved, and if you're not in a relationship, just think broader family structures, how many times has somebody gone like, you're right. Your opinion is totally right. I am totally wrong. That's why I think God is calling us to this, so again, this empowerment and responsibility and this trust. Falling down and worship me is very different than follow me as we move forward together. Falling down and worship me, very different than the idea of follow me as we move forward together.